Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome in. This is the Pigskin Prognosis, week 13. I am your co host, Zach, and I have Sully here with me.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. Glad to be back.
Yeah, we took last week off. You had some shoulder surgery. I had an aunt in the hospital. And then, yeah, it was last week, right? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're back this week. We missed week 12, which was unfortunate because it was a lot of upsetting games. But we're back here week 13 with some good news on both fronts of the wins and the bets and Thanksgiving games this week. So we're going to go over our usual stuff of the week 12 recap with the highest and lowest scores. Maybe some people you need to keep your eye out going into the week 13 fantasy week. Some bets to make potentially this week as well, and then just some game score recaps, talking about some of the games that we liked to watch this week or saw some recaps of. And hopefully you get some information from this to potentially get you a win this upcoming week 13 going into the last few weeks of the regular, or going to last few weeks of the regular season of fantasy football, before making the final push in the stretch into playoffs.
For those of you that are actually eligible to make the push.
Yeah, it's getting real close to that line. If you're not on the bubble now, there's no chance. But if you're on the bubble or you're already secured, and you're going into that playoff push, the deadline is over. Actually, I think it might be this week in ESPN leagues. I don't know what it is for other leagues. Actually, I think it was like a couple weeks ago. It's either coming up this week or it's already happened. So that opportunity is over. So potentially just picking up some free agents and stashing some guys. Maybe if you're in a dynasty league, having some keepers, something like that. But they're probably already snagged up unless they're on the IR or out for the rest of the season. So some diamonds in the rough there potentially. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started with our highest scores of week 13, which is no surprise after setting a record with the Eagles. Saquon Barkley, running back, 46.2 points, 255 rushing yards. The dude on the ground did more than some quarterbacks did throwing the ball in the air. And that's just insane. On top of that, he had 47 receiving yards, so over 300 yards from scrimmage in one game. And you tie that in with the 2 rushing touchdowns that he had. The dude had an amazing week, and you kind of see. I was expecting this kind of output from him, and all throughout the year, and it really started showing at week 1 when he was basically a hero for his new club. But the consistency of his output with the Eagles is surreal. I kind of questioned his output over the last maybe 2 years of his Giants tenure because he just wasn't doing what he was as a rookie and a second-year player. But now this is the old Barkley that we're used to seeing, these high rushing games, multiple touchdowns, making moves, making jukes, and scoring a lot of points for his team.
I mean, it's easier too to make all that happen when you're having fun. It genuinely looks like he's enjoying playing football. Every time the camera pans over to him, he's smiling, he's happy. I think he knows too that he's not the main workhorse in Philadelphia. They have other weapons, so he's not relied on. It just happens to work out that their O-line's fantastic, and he can blow through and blow up an 80-yard rushing TD with no problem.
And that's easy to say because when you do have someone with a team with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts and some decent receiving core, it's easier to get mixed into the workload, like you said, as opposed to his tenure. As opposed to his tenure in New York, he was one of the main targets every single game.
He was the main target,
and he should be considered one of the main targets aside from Jalen Hurts because of the dual threat that Jalen has. But it's kind of, you can kind of disguise it a little bit, right? Like you can make him do a lot of work, get the defense starting to, kind of lean heavy towards the run and then dump a pass. over the secondary, and then they kind of back off, and now you're giving Barkley another 8 to 10 yard rush here and there. So
True.
the
But
workload,
it's a hell of a lot easier, when he's not touching the ball 50, 60 times a game because
Exactly.
he has to. So, but it's the same thing with CMC out in San Fran now. He had a couple seasons with Carolina where he got hurt, obviously, especially toward the end of his tenure with us, and then goes. Granted, that this year was, that Achilles stuff, but you couldn't really call any of that in the offseason. But last year looked good. Same thing with, I think, Barkley this year. Looks a hell of a lot better now that he's healthy. He's not touching the ball, like we said, 50, 60 times a game, but definitely good for him. For those of you that have Saquon Barkley, probably had a hell of a week. Probably had a hell of a season, actually.
Yeah, this week was crazy on the running back side of things, but yeah, if you have Saquon Barkley, you're definitely doing really well, and he should be at the top of your running back core moving for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he should be a starter all season.
But he is one that, depending on how deep your leagues go, you need to watch out because they may start to sit him if they can secure a first-round bye. So,
which they're going to be competing against Detroit, and Detroit I don't see letting up on that throttle anytime soon. Yeah. So I think Barkley might be playing a while.
So if Detroit does lose out and the Phillies aren't fighting for that first round bye anymore, he might sit. So just be aware of that going into the last couple weeks of the season. Probably around, I would say around week 16, 17, probably more consistently. 17 is when you start to see those starters sit down. Rarely will you see them sit 3 games. I don't think I've seen a starter for a while sit 3 games. Occasionally they'll sit 2, but if your team is secured and they're not really fighting for much of something of importance, then yeah, they might sit one. They might sit 1 game. So, and that'll be week 18. So yeah, week 17 might be the week to look at for him.
Yep, which is right around that championship playoff time for a lot of ESPN or a lot of fantasy leagues.
Yep.
So yeah, that stupid ass 2-week round bullshit per week. I fucking hate that shit. Anyway, I'm digressing.
Yeah, well, yeah. Tell me how you feel.
Getting all fired up now.
All right, yeah. We haven't even started talking about the Panthers yet. Don't worry, that's coming.
Shut your dirty mouth. All right, next highest score, Jaden Daniels, 30.4 fantasy points, 275 passing yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick, unfortunately. 74 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. It's nice to see that Jaden Daniels is kind of on the upturn now. I think some of those kind of came toward the end on just the fucking crazy ass plays that happened toward the end of that game to help put him in positions to make all that shit happen, plus the 2-point conversion in that game. Washington against the Cowboys yesterday. It's good to see him doing that because I know he's had a few weeks of just not terrible fantasy output, but not what you had been seeing throughout the whole year. I think Bo Nix now, I know Jaden Daniels is in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm leaning more toward that now, toward going toward Bo Nix the way he's been playing. But we'll see how that goes. But for fantasy, I left Jaden Daniels on my bench in one of my leagues, but I'm a little saddened by that.
That's all right.
But I got Lamar Jackson, so I don't think anyone's really going to blame me for benching Daniels over Lamar Jackson. So
no, that's a safe bet. I think. I mean, with his recent downfall in production, yeah, that's a safe bet for sure. But I don't know. The Ravens are playing right now, so remember, we always record this podcast before the conclusion of the Monday Night Football game. So all the scorers and lowest scorers are not including the Monday Night Football game or games. They've been playing 2 games a week, so I think they're done with that for the rest of the season.
Yeah, they're done with that. But yeah, no, we usually start recording about halftime of the Monday night game. So, unless there's any big game, it'll end right before you wrap up recording. So if there's any big crazy off the wall shit, we'll definitely touch on it at some point during the thing. But
yeah.
All right, next up on the
third highest score, Jordan Addison. Let me pull up his stats so we can talk a little bit more about him. He had 30.2 fantasy points on 8 receptions and 162 yards with 1 touchdown. Go ahead. You sounded like you were about to say something.
No, I was just more confused as to what did Justin Jefferson do that game?
I wish I knew because it doesn't.
Nothing.
It doesn't seem like
4.7.
Yeah,
4.7. So just for, I guess I could have added that in our lowest scores. We only had 2 because there was a lot of high scoring games and stuff in this. But yeah,
Yeah, I was actually pulling up. So when I said I'm going to check his stats, I lied to y'all. I was actually pulling up to see if he was still with the Vikings because I didn't know if he had been traded or got cut or something and was with someone else. And because I was expecting the same thing that you were, like, where was JJ at? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's still with the Vikings, and it was against the Bears. So they won it 30-27 in an overtime game. I was not expecting that to go into overtime. The Bears forced
No,
overtime, but um, they were
not
able
at
to
all.
clutch it up. So good for them. Minnesota keeps the dreams alive, keeping a close handle on second, or excuse me, they're keeping a close handle on Detroit in first place, while Minnesota's still in that second place. I think they're only a loss back still, so which is good for them moving into the last couple weeks of the season. Anything can happen with their schedules. So
Yep. All right, next one. My home city team that I don't root for, but it's gonna be the Denver Broncos on Cortland Sutton, 29.7 fantasy points, 8 receptions, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns against Denver's win against I think it was Oakland Raiders, who I believe they
Raiders,
played.
they're Las Vegas now, but yeah,
Whatever. Everybody. Ask a Raiders fan. Everybody still calls them.
get with the program, you boomer.
Yeah, everybody still talks about him being fucking Oakland.
Well, they're not. So, but yeah,
No, shut the fuck up.
I was expecting Las Vegas to win this game, but because their pass defense has been so good this year, you saw it however many weeks ago, 6 or 7 weeks ago against Kansas City. They put up a good fight against them, which we'll get to actually in the next player. But Denver has had a complete 180, I would say, in their season. They started off really, really bad. Bo Nix didn't get a passing touchdown in the first 5 weeks of the season, and now it just seems like they're kind of what Denver was expecting. I think Sean Payton has been expecting this kind of productivity out of this team. If you can score 24 plus points in a game, you're going to likely win if you have a solid defense. In Denver's case, their defense is, in my opinion, not one of the best. I would say top 50%, but not what we would consider like the star defense of the season. But
My man, apparently you don't watch any football things. I completely disagree with that. I think one of the things that keeps that Denver team in games is that defense.
well, so I'm starting to look at it like that's kind of why their games were close, but the reason why they were losing was because their offense was not productive. And
Oh,
then now,
okay, I'll give you that one.
yeah. So I'm definitely not saying like would take the defense out of it. The teams they're still going to win regardless. What I'm saying is like now that their offense is clicking and their defense has just kind of been struggling to get those close games. It's kind of like a 1-2 punch, if you will, and kind of having that offense with Bo Nix as a kind of that dual threat that they were looking, not as much as the traditional like Jalen Hurts or the new Jaden Daniels. And now Cortland Sutton's really sticking his name out there and claiming to be a top wide receiver that he always, he's, in my opinion, he's like a top 10 receiver every year. Him, um, he's doing a lot for that team, scoring a lot of touchdowns, getting a lot of yards, and he's just been a solid safety net for Bo Nix to go to, and in some cases, one of those risky deep ball catchers too.
Yep, mostly because they got rid of Jerry Jeudy, who I think got a bad rap out in Denver, but
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy came to Cleveland, so
yep.
yeah.
But yeah, no, good to see Cortland Sutton and the Denver defense or Denver offense. Sorry, doing something, producing numbers. Next up on the list, as much as this one fucking pains me, so I figured I'd do it because it hurts a little less. That's gonna be fucking Kermit the Frog, Patrick Mahomes. 28.76 fantasy points, 269 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 60 rushing yards. Playing Carolina, not a fantastic fucking defense, especially with how many people are injured, how banged up they are. But a good passing performance. 2 of those went to Noah Gray, their tight end.
Yeah.
Those passing TDs. So
he
good for you.
I'd say he was top 15 scorer this week. He had 22.6 points, but yeah. I'm sick and tired of the Kansas City Chiefs, man. I just want them to lose.
Yep, you and me both, dude. I thought that was going to happen, but here we are.
Yeah, well, unfortunately.
Yeah. I know that's your team. I know you'll never admit it. But
Yeah.
you like that Taylor Swift magic.
Yeah.
The fucking the cult that is Taylor Swift.
I can't stand any of that. No, it's not really like a bad, like, okay, my gripe with Kansas City is there's other teams in the National Football League. Show some of them, please. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, all right, everybody listening, his real issue with them is the fact that they don't show Taylor Swift enough. And Travis Kelce's mom just... Did you see that? I know it's kind of the off topic stuff, football related at least, but did you see like Travis Kelce, their mom has a fucking, like a Hallmark movie that's coming out?
No. Oh, yeah. I did hear something about it, but I haven't seen it, no.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Yeah, I keep saying about it. I'm like, oh, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, I know that's going to be first on your list to watch come this, I mean, I guess technically this holiday season, but that'll be on your fucking first list the day after Thanksgiving, so.
Yeah.
Instead of watching football, he's going to be watching, what's it, I think it's like a Mary Donna Christmas or some shit like that. I don't even know the name of it, but we're getting sidetracked. But at least it was football kind of related, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. So, well, I'm sure you'll let me know more about it because you seem to be following that pretty closely.
Yeah, and, well, I'm assuming you're just going to write me a whole novel on Discord about it at the end of it.
I could.
You're going to give me like a fucking play-by-play of it.
All right, so when that comes out, you guys on listening to the podcast, you'll have to get Sully's detailed
synopsis
recount from the movie, which I know he's all about. So it's probably going to premiere sometime next year.
No, I think it premieres actually, I think this holiday season. Anyway, we're getting off fucking time.
Yeah, look at you. You know all the details of it. You know all the details.
That's because you told me before we started.
Okay. Yeah. The lies.
Lowest scores / surprisingly low. One that we didn't have on the list was Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
With fucking 4.7 points, 2 catches, 27 yards. Wasn't involved much in that offense. Kind of surprising to me. I mean, it's hard to do that when you have Jordan Addison catching a touchdown and going for 162 yards. So it makes it a little harder to get everybody involved. But
yeah, and with Justin Jefferson specifically, Sam Darnold had a really crazy week throwing deep balls. He had 7 completions of at least 20 yards, and I don't think Jefferson had either one.
Look at Zach doing his fucking research here.
Yeah, look at me. I know how to read. I know some of these words.
I know some of these words. Great fucking movie.
Yeah, he did have a 40-yard touchdown nullified, big word, late in the fourth quarter by offensive pass interference. So he's on the decline, it sounds like, because he has failed to reach 100 receiving yards in 3 consecutive contests. So there's that.
Yeah, I still have a hard time benching him, though. That's the problem, because a lot of people probably spent their first round pick on him. So that's one of those players. Once you pick him up, it's hard to.
I was one of them. I agree with you. It is tough to bench him. You're right, because when he goes off, which is pretty averagely, his average. I said average twice, and I didn't mean to. When he goes off, it's a good week for him. It's a good week for fantasy owners, and it's really good because Sam Darnold is slinging the ball for Minnesota, as you saw with Addison's performance. So if JJ doesn't pick up the slack, someone else will, and I would prefer it to be JJ because I drafted him in a lot of leagues. So, yeah. Please let it be JJ.
How about not? All right, next one, Kyler Murray, 10.3 points. 24 of 37, 285, 1 interception, 2 carries for 9 yards. Minus the interception, that's not a terrible stat line. I mean, granted, if you had a touchdown, it would have been a little bit better, but not a terrible stat line. I feel like you were expecting more, especially going against Seattle. I know it's a division game, always tough, but everyone's expecting Kyler Murray to run 10 times a game for 100 yards.
If you take out the interception and you add a touchdown, that's an extra 6 points, and his fantasy value goes up from 10.3 to 16.3. You throw in another couple of big runs, maybe that 9-yard goes up to somewhere around the 50-yard mark. That's another 4 points. So instantly you go from 10.3 to 20.3. And that is a really good stat line, like you said, yeah. And those are just getting rid of the interceptions, throwing a touchdown, and just a little bit more rushing, which doesn't seem like it would be that difficult. But for some reason, Seattle just had his number this week and didn't allow any touchdown, I believe, in the game. I think it was just 2 field goals by Seattle. It was just 2 field goals. So no touchdown rushing or passing or defensive or special teams or anything like that. So completely locked them down.
Do you think you could rush for 1 yard in the NFL?
All right, listen, I'm not going to go there because we already asked this question. Well, we didn't ask, but the question has been asked multiple times. I 100% could. I don't know if the average American could, but I'm a specimen of a man, so me, sure. You have a bad shoulder, so probably not right now.
Oh, dude, I'll just load everything up with my left side. It's fine. It's my right shoulder that's fucked.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not gonna have to worry about my shoulder when I'm running at 100 yards down the field.
All right. So, okay. Better question. Do you think you could run 1 yard in the NFL? Just average team, average defense, nobody special. Pick whatever defense you want. Or do you think you could take a shotgun snap and make a completion with the best defensive line in the NFL coming at you?
I have to make a completion. It doesn't have to. It can go for like -2 yards. It just has to be a completion.
Just has to be a completion.
Oh, I 1,000% could do that.
I don't think 1,000%. I don't know if you could. I don't know if you can.
Dude, a little check down to the running back, dude. I don't care if it loses 10, 15 fucking yards.
You got to remember that most check downs like that, the running back stays in to kind of pick one of those linemen for a second. So you got to give him a couple of steps to get out of the way. And you got T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett.
That's fine.
Who else? The guy that just retired from the Chargers. I forget his name. Just the top best defensive linemen or linebackers you can think of in the game.
Or creating basically a just stacked defensive line that I have to go against.
Yeah.
I still think I can do it. Do I get a good O-line or do I get like...
You get a regular line.
Do I get the Bengals offensive line?
We'll go with the Bengals. But this is post Super Bowl Bengals, post Super Bowl appearance Bengals, not like recent Bengals, not when they were in their prime.
So I get like no offensive help then.
Yeah,
sick.
You could say it like that, yeah.
I still think I could probably pull it. I just have to complete pass. That's literally all I have to do. I think I can make that happen.
Which shoulder?
How many attempts do I? I'm a lefty anyway, so I'm golden.
Okay, all right.
As you guys couldn't figure out, our lowest scoring section is kind of low, hence why we're just like kind of like filling with extra bullshit right now.
We had to fill in the gaps. We're so sorry.
Yeah. No, I 1,000%. It's just complete a pass, dude. I without a shadow of a doubt, I think I can make that happen.
How tall are you?
5'9".
I don't think you could do it,
dude. Again, little check, dude. I guarantee I can make that happen. Guarantee it. I also think it'd be relatively easy to run a yard.
I don't think you could do it.
Dude, which one? Either one?
Either one.
Dude, you're telling me right now that if I didn't have Philadelphia Eagles like offensive line, I couldn't rush a yard? 1 fucking yard.
See, that's cheating. You can't just go with the best offensive line in the game right now.
Oh, but we can set an all-star defensive lineup to go against me? That's okay?
Well, yeah, it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my game. I can do whatever I want, okay?
I still think even just an average team, I still feel like I could rush for a yard.
So a lot of people ask this question because Saquon Barkley had only 1 rushing yard in a professional game before. And he believes, Saquon Barkley's words, not mine, believes that the average American cannot rush for 1 yard in the NFL.
Well, it's funny because originally he said, yeah, I think they could. And then he thought about it for a minute and was like, yeah, no, I don't. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think the average American could.
Yeah. See, that's that whole, okay.
Wait a minute. Going back to this whole, like, you're just a fucking peak physical specimen or some shit. Didn't you fucking fall in the the softball World Series a couple weeks ago and fuck up your shoulder? At least mine was like a work-related injury, at least. So, like, I have a valid excuse. I was actually training for, like, law enforcement shit. But yet, you fell after barely making contact with the ball.
I was still
saying. If anyone's wondering, he does actually put this up in one of his podcasts, the XP the XP Lounge podcast.
It's in the Discord, as a matter of fact. But yes.
So yeah, and if anybody wants, send us a comment, and I will post that shit and make it happen. Or join the Discord. Fuck it, join the Discord.
Yeah, join the Discord and come watch, come see it,
and then we can all just awe and wonder at the physical specimen allegedly that Zach is, and just thinks he can run for fucking.
Okay, that was like my pit, my rock bottom. But that was it though. Right after I was good to go.
Really? Is that why you were broken for like fucking a month?
Okay, right before I was good to go.
Man, had to skip out on a couple of racing leagues we run because my shoulder.
My shoulder still hurts.
I at least have an excuse. I actually had surgery.
Oh yeah.
We're getting off topic pretty hardcore right now. Again, you can tell our lowest scorers were.
I feel like if we had to rush for a yard, we would be on the lowest scorers for sure.
Oh, 1,000%. Well, if I had to complete a pass, I'd be at like negative 15 yards. I'd have Daniel Jones level of fucking yardage and completion.
Okay, we talk about him in a minute. Okay.
All right, final one. Xavier Worthy, 9.1 points. Going against Carolina's defense, which is not fucking amazing. We talk about that here in a little bit. 4 receptions, 46 yards, and 5 rushing yards. I was honestly expecting more out of him, just because, again, he's going against Carolina's defense, which hasn't been amazing, granted more so against the run, but our pass defense hasn't been fantastic. Granted, J.C. Horn's one of the top cornerbacks in the league. Had a couple of penalties and stuff that did actually end up negating a couple of Worthy's catches, luckily. Excuse me. So that does help. But yeah, that's honestly it for the lowest scorers. I feel like this is the week that like everybody fucking just blew up.
Yeah, it was a little wild, but we probably would have found more if we really scavenged. But yeah, it was tough to find. It was tough to find people that you're expecting at the top were at the top. People you're expecting at the bottom were at the bottom. A lot of people didn't really go crazy off of their projected, at least on the lower side of things. Projections are just kind of like meh anyways. But yeah, you're right. It was kind of that normal week, if you will.
Yeah.
Which moves us into our bets. We have next week's bets. We only have 3 bets on the list, but that's because it's Thanksgiving week. You're gonna have 3 games on Saturday, or excuse me, 3 games on Thursday. Your traditional Cowboys are playing. AFC, is it AFC? No, it's NFC East, right? The Lions and NFC North, right?
There we go. Good.
Yeah, sorry, I'm all over the place. NFC North. That's your traditional NFC North matchup, and then the Packers are also playing. So you have the Bears and the Lions playing in the early window. Cowboys play the
Giants.
I was going to say Texans. Thank you, Giants. In the second window, and then the Dolphins play in Green Bay in the late window. So you'll have 3 games for Thanksgiving.
Yep.
But go ahead.
Which would lead us into one of the bets. I like actually 2 of the 3 bets that we have for this week are actually from the Thursday night set of games.
Yeah.
One of them being the Fins. I know Zach loves that term.
The Fins. The
Dolphins.
Miami, for those
motherfucking Dolphins.
For the rest of us that speak proper English.
Yeah, because you definitely do. They're plus 145 dogs going against Green Bay. I know it's a game in Green Bay at the end of November. I get it. I don't know. With Tua back, the Dolphins offense, I won't call it the Fins again, look so much better with Tua back under center. Their offense is producing more. Tyreek Hill's kind of had a couple productions, but like Jalen Waddle's been going off. The offense just looks generally better. And I think Green Bay can end up pulling that off. I know Green Bay just whooped up on San Fran.
Yeah, they did.
But San Fran had a backup quarterback. Didn't look great. So, I'll give you that. But still. Fins, money line, plus 145. Gold Dolphins.
Yeah. Another point to that is that like you said, the Fins. I'm already.
Yeah, see, there we go. See, it's catching on.
They do look good. They're on the upswing of what I thought was going to be a terrible year, which is good for them. I like the bet at +3. Right, it's +3 spread, +3.5 spread. That That's only a minus 115, but the money line is plus 145 if they win outright. So, yeah, but they're playing in Green Bay. So we'll see if the weather has an effect on it. We'll see how that goes.
We all know Miami doesn't do well when it's fucking cold weather games. So,
one of the other Thanksgiving Day bets that we have here is the Lions against the Bears. So the Bears are in Detroit, and the money line spread for the Lions over. Excuse me, not the money line spread. The over under spread. Why do I keep saying the word spread? The over. It's because all I do is bet spreads. So I'm thinking about it. But the over under is 48.5. I think that the over, meaning 49 points or more, is a good bet. And Sully said it in here. The Lions can put that up for themselves, which I think it's going to be gunslinging. Kyler, damn it. I just looked up and saw Kyler Murray's name. Caleb Williams had an amazing week this week. So now that he's back in the production, going into one of the rivalry games that we always see, I would like to see him continue that production because I have him on my roster, but I would also like to see the Lions win just because I'm a Detroit fan except for baseball. So I'd like to see them kind of pick that up and see what we can do.
You just told me the other day that you're like not a big Michigan fan. You're like a Texas fan or some shit.
No. I lied to you. I'm a bandwagoner, by the way. I am a huge Michigan fan, college football wise, but yeah, in Detroit, I like all Detroit sports except for baseball because I'm a huge Cleveland fan, and that's really our biggest rivalry. One of them. But yeah, that's where my love/hatred for Detroit kind of works into. I really don't want to say hatred, but it's like it's 3 or 4 sports I'm okay with. And then the last bet for the week is the Steelers. They are plus 130 underdogs against the Bengals. The money line is plus 130, and the spread is plus 3 to the Steelers. So that's a division game. I told y'all a couple weeks ago that the AFC North division games, they just happen to be crazy different because you look at the Browns. I think they beat the Ravens earlier this year. They beat the Steelers last week. It's insane. They're going off in that division, and it's not what you would expect. Did they play the Ravens? Maybe I'm thinking of last year. No, they did. They won 29-24. Yeah. So, and then they got to play the Ravens again at the end of the season. So, but Steelers. I'm going off on a Browns tangent. Sorry. Steelers are plus 130 money line underdogs against the Bengals. The Bengals do not look like a solid team as they have over the last couple of years. They scored points, but the Steelers just somehow managed to be consistently good. The Bengals are lacking that consistency, in my opinion, where the Steelers have it, whether it's on the ground or in the air or on the defense. Some one of that triangle picks up the other two if the other two don't have it, or 2 points to that triangle pick up the last one. So look for that game to be really good, and then I would take the Steelers at plus 130 money line.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, so that moves into our last segment here for our scores and game recaps. And we're going to start it off with my favorite team, the Cleveland Browns.
The New York Giants.
They're on here. Don't you worry. We had to talk about that because of old Daniel Jones, but not much. But yeah, Cleveland goes into Pittsburgh. They get their 3rd win of the year. Nick Chubb gets his 3rd touchdown, his 2nd and 3rd touchdown of the year. Nick Chubb scored a touchdown back in October and his first day back from the injury that coincidentally occurred in Pittsburgh last year that put him in the hospital for knee surgery. Took him out for the first half of this season. So he comes back in October, scores a touchdown, goes a couple games without a touchdown, shows up in Cleveland. I don't know if there was a bit of rage, I'll call it, between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. There was a little bit of pre-game week drama surrounding the whole defensive player of the year because TJ Watt wanted it. Myles Garrett got it, so then TJ Watt didn't even show up to the award ceremony because he thought he deserved it, and it just I didn't really like that it showed a lot about it. I think it was poor on his character to not show up and support someone else who's obviously better than you in a lot of other people's eyes. Not trying to take anything away from TJ Watt, but Myles Garrett is one hell of a defender. Just in this game alone, Russell Wilson was sacked 4 times. 3 of them were by Myles Garrett. So, yeah, I think that kind of showed that Cleveland wasn't messing around, and the 2 people that were the biggest threat for the Steelers showed up and just dominated, in my opinion. In a snowy game as well.
So, yeah, which came out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely nowhere too. It was insane. And that was kind of adding to the fun of Jameis Winston's poor performance. No touchdowns, which not unexpected to have, a no touchdown game and an interception. I think we said this weeks and weeks ago when he was going to starting for the Browns, that you're going to get one of 2 forms of Jameis Winston. It's either going to be full on 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions, or no touchdowns and 2 interceptions plus per game. Yep. And this just happened to be one of those games where he didn't throw a touchdown and he threw an interception, but he thankfully had a solid defense behind him for the night, and Nick Chubb was able to rush in for 2 touchdowns as well. So,
but that man is so fucking funny, dude. I love listening to Jameis Winston's interviews.
He's absolutely hilarious.
Just he's trying to get. I remember it was one of the 4th down plays before the end of the game. He's trying to get him to jump off sides, and you can hear him go. He's sitting there 180 hot, going, and then like right at the end, he's like, "Can someone just jump off sides? Damn!"
That's funny. Yeah.
Like, love it. The interviews are great. It looks like he's enjoying, playing football again too. Kind of like how we were talking about with old Saquon Barkley. But
yeah. It's fun to have him on the team because Cleveland had so much fun as a fan base when they had a quarterback with an attitude, in my opinion. When you have someone like Baker Mayfield, which we actually talk about a little bit next, that brings the attitude to the team, it's something that Cleveland fans needed because Cleveland fan base is so loyal and so, I don't want to say the word aggressive, but hungry. They haven't had a championship in the NFL ever. They haven't had a World Series in MLB ever. So,
thank God.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, what? That skipped past. Let's back up. What did you say?
I said thank God.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, never hear the fucking end of it.
All right, everybody. This is our last episode of the podcast. So, no. Yeah. It's nice to have that attitude in that quarterback finally to come back.
It's good. It does look like he's not playing with like such a chip on his shoulder. Like he knows he's got the starting job now, especially with Watson being hurt.
Right.
He knows he's got the rest of the year at least. He doesn't have to sit there and go through. He can just go out, play complimentary football, help Nick Chubb out. Don't make mistakes. Obviously, you had that pick, but just don't turn over the ball consistently, and just have consistent games and. You'll eventually start bringing Cleveland those wins, and hell, depending how the offseason goes, he might actually lock himself into that starting job with Cleveland anyway.
Maybe. I don't foresee that happening. That's kind of how I thought the last season would go with Joe Flacco. Same thing. Watson was hurt. You saw Joe Flacco step in and really lead that team up into the postseason when you were kind of surprised that the Texans were just so outright and just crazy in that game where they went off. I was expecting it to be a little bit closer, especially because they played each other like 3 weeks before that postseason appearance. But yeah, it seems like he's playing, like you said, more freely because there's nothing for him to lose. He's been bounced around a lot. This is, if it doesn't work here, he might just end up in another bench job because that's just the kind of quarterback he is, that bench backup. But
yeah, not consistent enough to keep a starting job.
Right, but when you see him come off the bench and play as freely, I like that word, as freely as he does in the last couple of weeks with Cleveland, it shows you that he doesn't take losses too harshly, and he's learning from his victories, and he's just having fun. And that's all it's about is having fun, which you can not see that in Deshaun Watson. It's all serious, gotta win, gotta do this, gotta do that, whatever. It's just not that, you know?
I'll say, yeah, it looked like he really didn't even fucking care. Man was making $250 million or shit, whether he wins, loses, or
yeah, it was like 254 or 256 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, loses 800 fucking interceptions and shit. So you can, I don't know. Watson just honestly kind of looked like he just didn't really fucking care. Took the cash, took the check, and rolled the fuck out.
Yeah, and that's kind of where that's kind of how the time went with OBJ when he was in Cleveland. And I mean OBJ, in my opinion, altogether, because he's just very, like, show up, do this, make a cool catch, and then, get a paycheck. And
yeah, you won't hear from me the rest of the season.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. But it's good to see that they have that attitude back in Cleveland, and who knows, maybe they may win a couple more games the rest of this year. So at this point, it's all just for bragging rights over the division, because they've beaten Pittsburgh, they've beaten the Ravens, and now they've got to beat the Bengals and the Ravens again later this year. So
go Bengals and Ravens.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, moving on to the Tampa Bay game, which we were talking about Baker Mayfield, and we talked about Daniel Jones earlier. Tampa Bay absolutely demolished the Giants this week. It's not that hard to beat up on a high school team when you're a professional football team, especially when you cut your starting quarterback. And
they paid $40 million a year for.
Yeah, and I saw that they're going to have some cap, but it was a mutual decision. I think the Giants liked what they saw when Tommy DeVito played last year, and I think that they wanted to move forward with that because Daniel Jones was such an underperformer this year. But I don't think that they were expecting this kind of performance, this kind of poor performance out of Tommy DeVito. But I don't know. It's kind of tough because Tampa Bay, a decent defense this year, but and granted, the Giants are also not one of the top teams at all. So like I said, it's kind of like beating up on a high school team. But Tommy DeVito only threw for 189 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, but I mean, that's like minimal effort from your receiving core, and that's like 10-yard chunks at a time. Like, you're not taking risks, you're not really pushing. I don't know if they kind of had that mentality going into the game to just kind of see where it went, but I'm not sure. I don't know what the mindset was. I didn't watch any of the game.
It looks as if the team's kind of tanking to get a draft spot. It's honest to God what it looks like.
That's where my mindset is going with it too. I mean, I know that every team is going to confess and say like, yeah, we're doing our best that we can, but I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, are you though?
Yeah.
I mean, Malik Neighbors came out, and I don't know if it was a real quote or not. It looked legitimate, but he pretty much came out and said it wasn't. It's this organization isn't a Danny Jones's fault. Yeah, it's just a mess of an organization.
Right, and Daniel Jones, one of the quarterbacks that I don't think would have been, at any other team, would have been a star with the resources that any other given team would have had. But I also don't think that he would have been this bad either.
No, I don't know.
He would have done better with other teams, but... And enough to maybe secure a year or two as a starter, as he did with New York. But to be replaced by Tommy DeVito because of poor performance throughout the year it kind of strikes me as odd. It's like he's your best option, and I think it just seemed with how the week progressed before the game, how he asked to be released. He wasn't cut. He asked the coach and the staff to be released.
Well, so you go from starting QB to being told you're benched to third string. You skipped second string completely. You got bumped to third string. Then they say, fuck that. That's not good enough. We're going to bump you to fourth string on the practice squad and then have you dress up in a red jersey and play safety in practice.
Yeah, I feel like something else was going on with that whole situation to where Daniel Jones wasn't just forced to the. It wasn't just out of the blue. I'll say there was. It seemed like there was a little bit of a development there that we weren't aware of until it all came to a head. But
yeah, and then it looks like it just blew all up when in reality it didn't.
And he's a good backup quarterback with all the starters in the league right now. I don't see him taking over any starting jobs with any of the starters currently. Maybe Vegas, maybe San Francisco if they get rid of Purdy, but I foresee him being a free agent the rest of the year.
And Gardner Minshew just broke his collarbone, is out the rest of the year for the Raiders.
Okay, yeah, but they still have that Rattler, right? That he plays.
Riddler,
yeah.
Yeah, Atlanta's old QB,
something like that. Yeah. He's their backup, and I know that they benched.
O'Connell's hurt. I think he's got a thumb injury.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
they're
playing QB carousel over there in Las Vegas, so maybe he throws his name in the hat. And
he said he wants. Jones specifically said he's like, I only want to go to a team right now that's got playoff contention. It's like, okay, so you want to try to weasel your way into getting a championship ring is what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
No,
especially if you're not going to get any playing time unless it's garbage time. But I mean, if you're on the roster, you're not necessarily going to get a ring, but you have the potential to be given a ring, is what I understand it for things like that, where if you have a team that wins a ring, they don't have to give you a ring. If you were just on the roster, you have to you just have the potential to give you a ring.
Yeah, I think if you're on the 53-man roster, I think they give you a ring, and then everyone else is like practice squad players. I don't think get them.
But they're not
required to.
But they can. They could give them to practice squad players. They could give them to players that have been traded or cut throughout the year. Just for being on the roster, they're eligible to get a ring, but that doesn't necessarily mean hey, if you sign someone from the practice squad and they never played, you cut them and they went to another team, they're probably not going to get a ring.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
But the chance is there if the team is generous to say hey, you gave us some good advice. You were a decent player in practice, or something like that.
Yeah. So. You play good practice squad safety for us for a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it was interesting. I think it was. I mean, granted, I can't talk much shit. Carolina's kind of a clusterfuck now, too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the Giants make Carolina look like the fucking Patriots of back in the day. We look like we have an idea of what the fuck we're doing compared to New York. Both New York teams, actually, I will say that.
Yeah.
The Jets included. I know the Jets didn't play this week, but the fucking Jets included.
Well, I mean, it seems like even on their bye week, they're still losing because now there's more
Rodgers is probably going to be gone.
Well, according to the interim coach, because they got rid of Robert Saleh, they said they're going to keep Aaron Rodgers. So
I saw that Rodgers wants to play this year, but it sounds like the GM and stuff that they're looking to replace and shit. And it looks like the owner's also talking about it's probably not going to be Aaron Rodgers underneath center next season. Rodgers wants to play, but it's probably not going to be him.
I think he needs to just retire.
I thought he should have retired at the end of the season. Yeah. I think he should have never come back. I get that he wants to come back from an Achilles tendon injury and just show that, hey, I can come back and still play as well as I did. But what's going to end up happening? Let's say he gets traded to a different team, then he's going to try to get pretty much everyone that he got traded to the Jets to go to that team and then retire at the end of next year anyway. So,
yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if he does, in fact.
Yeah,
lose. Retire. Sorry, he's gonna lose for sure. But
yeah,
I mean, that's all he's been doing this year, pretty much. So.
Yeah, but yeah. All right, so the final game we got to talk about.
Go ahead, man. This is your bread and butter.
Which is my fucking team. My boys put up a good fight. It's Carolina Panthers against the fucking Kansas City Chiefs. Taylor Swift and her fucking black magic Colt shit gets it done again. Carolina lost 30-27 in a very close game.
How does it feel to know that you're a fan base of 8-year-old girls beat your favorite team?
I'm okay with it. Still better than being a Cleveland Brown fan. Still better than being a Cleveland Brown fan. So
yeah.
Still better than being a Giants fan or a Jets fan. So I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take
that's
it.
Very true. That's true.
I will take it. I don't consider it a loss for Carolina. I really don't. I know, obviously on the scoreboard they did lose, but Carolina went blow for blow with the reigning back-to-back Super Bowl champions and gave them a run for their money. Bryce Young looked damn good, I'll say, in that game, especially against the top-tier defenses the Kansas City Chiefs have. He went 21 for 35, 263 yards, a touchdown, ran it 3 times for 20 yards, which looked good. He was making throws that were, threading the needle, spots that only his receivers could catch it, and is finally starting to look like now what he was drafted and everyone thought he was going to look like. I know a few weeks ago I was fucking all over Bryce Young saying that, we need to get rid of him, blah, blah, blah. But based on what we saw at the moment, I felt like that was the right choice. Looking at it, I feel if he can keep doing what he's doing, let's keep him in. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And let it ride. I know the head coach has said that, he's going to be the starter next week. We're playing Tampa, so that's a division. Like, we play them 2 more times for the end of the season, so that's going to be a tough week. And then the following week we have Philadelphia, so I think that's going to be a fucking shellacking, which we should have a special guest on that for that game.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yep. Who's an Eagles fan? So yeah, it's.
What week is that? That was the week 18 game.
No, that's so they play in 2 weeks.
Oh,
so it's the week
15 game.
15 game, I believe. It's December 9th, whatever that week is. Sorry, December 10th episode.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we should have a guest for that. I don't see that game being competitive, but we can talk about it at least.
You never know, man. It very well could.
Nobody thought this game was supposed to be competitive.
Yeah, exactly. Weird stuff has happened, and to only lose by 3 points, I consider that a win. So.
Yeah, and especially like I said, Bryce Young looked good. He was making throws that were elite level throws. Mahomes came out. We talked about him earlier with his stat line.
Yeah.
And against the banged up Carolina defense, and we couldn't stop the run for shit. We did relatively well against stopping the run against Kareem Hunt this go, so that was a little bit of a saving grace. But I'm going to go ahead, like I said, and call it a win for Carolina that, with a bunch of injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
To come out with what was our backup QB, basically, and is now obviously our starter, and bring it to a 3-point game, which very easily I feel like Carolina could have won that game if just I would say a little bit better, clock management and shit. But hey, losing to 3 points to the defending champions, I'm okay with that.
I see your little note that you wrote down here in the script. You said Panthers are one of 3 teams to score this year to score 25 plus points against the Chiefs. Suck it, KC.
Yeah, that's right. I was hoping you were going to read that.
I love that, dude. That's so funny.
1 of 3 teams.
I mean, yeah, that's good. It's impressive. I'm glad that I didn't even for how much the Panthers have been getting shit on this year. I want to say they've actually been making a really decent upswing in the last couple of weeks.
Yes, 100%.
It's almost like they set themselves up perfectly to go first round draft pick, and now they're like, we don't want it. We don't need it.
Let's give it to somebody else. Fuck it.
Yeah, right. And the Giants are like, well, if everyone else is going to get rid of it, I'll tank our season and we'll figure it out, so.
And we still have to give the Bears our 2nd round pick this upcoming draft. So, I mean, if we can go ahead and push ourselves to like that middle pack instead of them thinking, oh shit, we're going to get a fucking pretty high draft pick.
Yeah.
And fun fact, the Ravens just beat the Chargers 30-23.
Oh, they came back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they were down a little bit. Yeah, they ended up coming back toward the end.
I think they were down to 30-16 or something or 30.
I think halftime was I think halftime was 14-13. It was a pretty close game.
Yeah. And
then Chargers did come back a little bit, yeah, but little too late type thing. But
yeah,
man, that's pretty much all we got in the notes.
Yeah, that's it. So if y'all stuck around and listened to the podcast this long, thank you very much for your support, continued support. If y'all have any comments, questions, concerns, you can reach out to us, the Pigskin Prognosis. You can comment on our YouTube post. You can comment on our Spotify post. You can message us directly. You can join the Discord and say hey to Sully and I in the Discord, or leave a comment, message us that way. Don't forget, it is Thanksgiving week, so everybody have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And at the same time, don't forget to set your lineups like I do, especially with 3 games happening on Thursday. 3 games on Thursday, not just one. Make sure you check your lineups. Make sure you get your waiver wire picks in. and go get that dub. If you're on the bubble of playoffs, hopefully you get that win this week to push it a little bit into that competition of getting into the playoffs. So.
Yep. We're looking at potentially doing a Instagram account for this as well. We will discuss that here soon and kind of figure out how that's going to look like. Yep. So give them a follow. Once we do, we'll make an announcement on the podcast once we actually do that as well. But as usual, it's been fun. Thank you all for listening. Like Zach said, they're barring any crazy shit, we shouldn't have any reason why we missed the rest of the season.
No, I think we're
from
stuff that we can't control. Yeah.
Yeah, there should be no reason why we can't. We'll I know Zach in the Discord put that it's regular season only, but we'll carry this through at least to the Super Bowl. Obviously, there's not going to be any fantasy updates and shit like that unless you want us all to talk about like daily fantasy stuff through like DraftKings or whatever. We can talk about that, but it'll probably be mostly bets, maybe some injuries, off season type shit. But that'll be up at it until once playoffs and stuff happen, and most fantasy leagues end up ending. So
they do. A lot of them do end up ending week 18, right? Like I actually think it's like week 16.
I think 16, 17, 18 is usually like depending on the league and like size and stuff and like when people end.
Yeah.
I think ours ends week 17, so.
Yeah.
But
man, that's all I got for this week.
Yep. Let us know in the comments if you guys would enjoy us doing that all the way through the season, or we should just end it at fantasy season. But leave that up to you guys. If not, we'll keep them pushing out because again, we genuinely enjoy doing this. So we
sure do. Yeah, it's been awesome.
But yeah, man, it's been fun like usual, Zach. We will hit you up next week. Actually, I'll end up talking to you tomorrow for our Coast Guard Championship race.
Yeah. That's all we got, guys. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will catch you all next week, week 14.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Okay, bye.